Chosen one, if an uneasiness that you cannot quite name has begun to arise within you, do not immediately panic, but neither should you continue ignoring the things that have repeatedly made you feel disrespected. I have not brought you to these words to frighten you with the thought that some hidden disaster is approaching. Nor am I telling you that this is your final opportunity to be protected. My love does not operate through threats, pressure, or a ticking clock. I want you to pause, breathe, and look at your life with awakened eyes. Archangel Michael, my faithful messenger, protector, and executor of my will, is mentioned as an image of courage and integrity, reminding you that protection does not mean suspecting everyone. True protection helps you remain calm enough to distinguish between fear, awakened by the past, and a real warning sign that needs to be examined. I know there have been moments when your heart tightened as someone entered the room, when a conversation suddenly fell silent, or when a person's words and actions no longer seemed to agree. You may have blamed yourself for being too sensitive, too suspicious, or for thinking more than necessary. But do not immediately dismiss your feelings. Emotions may be prompting you to observe more carefully, although they are not yet evidence by which to condemn anyone. Learn to listen without exaggerating, to take note without inventing conclusions, and to seek understanding without harming the innocent. I do not want you to live in a world where every smile is treated as false, every phone call as a conspiracy, and every closed door as proof that someone is working against you. Such a life would steal your peace before anyone else had the opportunity to do so. If someone you know is behaving in a way that concerns you, look at specific actions rather than relying solely upon intuition. Do they frequently change their story to suit the circumstances? Do they protect what you share in confidence, or repeat it to gain an advantage? Do they respect your boundaries, or continually attempt to enter more deeply into your private life, even after you have said no? When you succeed, do they celebrate with you, or immediately diminish what you have accomplished? When they hurt you, do they accept responsibility, or do they always find a way to make you feel at fault? Repeated patterns of behavior will reveal the quality of a relationship more clearly than any vague feeling. Perhaps you are worried that a decision has been made behind your back that could affect your home, family, work, or stability. If you have a real reason for concern, take the initiative to seek clarity calmly. You have the right to ask about matters that directly affect you. You have the right to request transparency concerning shared finances, ownership, family plans, or commitments whose consequences you will also bear. Ask clear questions without attacking. I heard this, and I want to understand the truth. How will this decision affect us? Why was this not discussed with me? A structured conversation often brings far more light than prolonged silence filled with suspicion. If the other person responds with anger, mockery, avoidance, or attempts to make you feel guilty, merely because you asked a reasonable question, take notice. A sincere person may feel uncomfortable when misunderstood, but they are still able to explain, provide information, and work with you to restore trust. Someone who wishes to conceal something often does more than refuse to answer. They may also cause you to question your memory, your emotions, or your very right to know. When this happens repeatedly, do not continue convincing yourself that everything is fine merely to preserve an appearance of peace. Peace built upon forced silence is not true peace. True peace requires truth, responsibility, and mutual respect. Yet remain humble enough to recognize that misunderstandings can sometimes grow because information is incomplete. A person may be keeping something private because they are preparing something good, because they do not yet know how to speak about it, or because they fear the conversation will become tense. Not every private matter is a betrayal. Therefore, allow truth the opportunity to reveal itself before writing the rest of the story in your mind. Do not secretly inspect another person's phone, accounts, or private space merely to soothe your anxiety. Such an action can create another fracture and draw you away from the values you desire to preserve. Seek clarity through honest means. If the matter involves documents, money, rights, or housing, preserve the necessary records and seek appropriate advice. Keeping contracts, written exchanges, receipts, or important agreements is not necessarily evidence of distrust. It may be healthy caution. If you discover fraud, theft, threats, or serious harm to your family's safety, reach out to qualified professionals, responsible authorities, or trustworthy people capable of helping you. I do not want you merely to endure and wait for everything to change on its own. Faith does not replace practical action. I may give you calmness in prayer while also leading you toward clear steps of protection. Do not treat a racing heart, chest discomfort, sudden warmth, or difficulty breathing as automatic proof that something evil is happening behind the scenes. These symptoms may arise from stress, anxiety, lack of sleep, or a health concern that deserves attention. Pause, breathe slowly, drink water, and find a quiet place. If the symptoms are intense, prolonged, frequently recurring, or troubling to you, seek appropriate medical evaluation. I do not want you to attach every bodily response to a mystical warning and then neglect the care you need. Wisdom means listening responsibly to both your emotions and your physical health. Perhaps what hurts you most is not merely the possibility that someone concealed something, but the fact that this person was once very close to you. You shared secrets, placed trust in them, and considered them part of the safety of your life. When consistency is broken, you may begin to believe that your own kindness was a mistake. But, my beloved child, trusting someone is not something for which you should feel ashamed. You are not wrong for desiring a sincere relationship. What you need is not to become cold, but to learn to let trust develop over time. Do not offer every private part of yourself simply because someone makes you feel understood for a few days. Observe whether they keep small promises, how they treat those who have nothing to offer them, and how they respond when they do not get their way. If the truth reveals that someone deceived you, allow yourself to grieve without turning your pain into retaliation. You do not need to expose everything publicly in order to shame them. You do not need to tell the story to many people merely to gain support. Share it with a few mature, discreet people who can help you see clearly. If a conversation is necessary, choose a safe time, speak about specific behavior, and explain what you need from that point forward. Perhaps you need an explanation, an apology, a visible change, or necessary distance. You cannot force someone to be honest, but you can decide how much access they will continue to have to your life. Changing someone's level of access is not cruelty. Some people are suitable only for polite distance. Some were once close, but are no longer trustworthy enough to hold private matters. Others may need time to demonstrate genuine change before being entrusted with responsibility again. You do not need to call them an enemy in order to establish a boundary. Simply state that a particular behavior damaged trust. and that the relationship cannot continue as before without meaningful change. Boundaries are not intended to control another person. They define how you will act in order to protect your peace, dignity, and responsibilities. Remember that forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same. You may forgive so that bitterness no longer controls you, but rebuilding a relationship requires the participation of both people. Forgiveness may begin within your heart. Reconciliation requires the person who acted wrongly to accept responsibility, change their behavior, and respect the time needed for healing. If they apologize but continue repeating the same actions, you do not have to pretend that the matter has been resolved. An apology without change is only sound. Trust is restored through repeated honesty, voluntary transparency, and consistent conduct during ordinary days when no one is mentioning the wrongdoing. Forgive yourself as well for failing to recognize things earlier. Perhaps today you can look back and identify many signs you once overlooked. An unusual statement, a moment of belittlement, an inconsistent story, or a boundary that was crossed. Do not use today's clarity to condemn the person you were then. At that time, you acted according to the understanding, hope, and needs you possessed. Now that you know more, you can choose differently. Growth is not hating the former version of yourself. It is holding that person with compassion and deciding not to repeat what you have learned. Michael does not stand before you in tears, threatening that protection will disappear unless you listen to a message. He serves my will, and my will does not depend upon whether you finish watching a video or perform an action online. The image of Michael simply reminds you of courage. The courage to face truth, seek help, establish boundaries, and refuse to become like what wounded you. I do not protect you by planting an obsession that enemies are everywhere. I protect you through discernment, trustworthy community, wise choices, and the strength to stand firm when truth is revealed. If, after investigating, you discover that your fear had no real foundation, do not feel ashamed. Be grateful that you verified the matter before causing harm. Apologize if you spoke unfairly, and learn to recognize when the past is making the present seem more frightening than it truly is. A former betrayal may cause you always to expect the worst to happen again. If this is affecting your sleep, relationships, or ability to trust, seeking appropriate counseling may help you heal. You do not have to untie every knot alone. Asking for help does not make you weak. It shows that you take your peace seriously. Release the need to know everything others may have said when you were absent. Not every secret needs to be discovered. Some information would only cause you more pain without helping you live more wisely. Focus on what directly concerns your responsibilities, safety, and decisions. Do not spend months investigating conversations in which you were not present. Look at how the person is treating you today. Look at what can be verified, what you need to change, and what path will help your life become more honest and stable. Stand up, but not in rage. Standing up means no longer claiming that everything is fine when your heart knows a conversation is necessary. It means refusing to allow another person to use affection to manipulate you, silence to punish you, or old mistakes to keep you trapped in a sense of debt. Standing up means seeking truth without adding imagined details, taking action without revenge, and leaving when a place continually destroys your dignity. You can be strong without becoming bitter. You can remain alert without losing compassion. You can forgive while maintaining distance. Finally, return to me in peace. Be grateful that you are learning to discern without fear. Protect yourself without harming the innocent, and face truth without losing kindness. Care for sincere relationships, thank those who keep their word, and become a trustworthy person toward others. If you have been betrayed, do not let betrayal teach you to betray. If you have been lied to, value honesty even more deeply. If you have been treated without respect, use that experience to treat others with dignity. My beloved child, an important truth may gradually be emerging, causing you to reconsider your home, your relationships, and the way you have entrusted your confidence. But I do not want you to enter this moment in fear. I am not leading you into panic, placing you upon a fragile boundary between gaining everything and losing everything, or telling you that something good will be transferred to another person merely because you failed to notice a message in time. My love is not a prize held out for a few minutes and then withdrawn. My care does not depend upon your remaining with a video, pressing a button, or reacting immediately. Archangel Michael, my faithful messenger, protector, and executor of my will, is mentioned to awaken within you the courage to look directly at truth, not to make you believe that he is desperately competing for your attention. I do not need threats to make you listen. I simply invite you to pause, become calm, and examine what in your life needs to be brought into the light. There are seasons when a foundational relationship enters a period of testing. Things you once overlooked begin to appear more clearly. An inconsistent statement, an agreement that is repeatedly disregarded, a growing distance, or a sense that you are no longer respected, may cause you to wonder whether the foundation you trusted remains secure. Do not immediately treat this as proof that the other person is certainly betraying you. But neither should you continue denying what has occurred repeatedly. Truth does not always appear as a curtain suddenly torn down. Often, it emerges gradually through behavior, choices, and the way a person reacts when questioned about difficult matters. Look for consistency rather than listening only to reassurance. Observe whether they keep their word, respect boundaries, willingly explain, and take responsibility when they cause pain. If tension exists within your home, do not allow fear to write the ending before the conversation has even begun. What needs to be revealed may be a long-standing misunderstanding, an unfair distribution of responsibility, money that has not been discussed clearly, or grief that someone has hidden for too long. Not every secret is a conspiracy. Some people remain silent because of shame, fear of conflict, or uncertainty about how to speak the truth. This does not make concealment right, but it reminds you to approach the matter with discernment rather than accusation. Choose a quiet time, speak about what you have observed, and ask questions in a direct but non-humiliating way. Truth is more able to enter when neither person is concerned only with winning the argument. I know you may feel restless, your heart may beat quickly, or your stomach may tighten when you think about what remains unclear. But do not immediately call these responses a spiritual emergency. Your body may be reacting to stress, old memories, sleep deprivation, or anxiety about an important conversation. Sit down, breathe slowly, place your feet firmly on the ground, and remind yourself of what you know for certain rather than what you are imagining. If unusual sensations are severe, prolonged, frequently recurring, or accompanied by chest pain, breathing difficulty, or dizziness, seek appropriate medical care. I do not want you to neglect your health, because you assume that every signal must carry a mysterious meaning. Wisdom is knowing how to care for both your inner life and your body's practical needs. Do not believe that you have only a brief opportunity to receive something good. Some opportunities do need to be accepted at the appropriate time. But wise decisions are rarely built upon panic. If someone pressures you to sign something, transfer money, make a commitment, or surrender something immediately, become even more cautious. What is healthy may require courage, but it will still leave enough room for you to consider, seek advice, and understand the consequences. I do not guide you by threatening that a blessing will pass to someone else if you move too slowly. What truly belongs in your life does not need to be preserved through panic. Even when one opportunity passes, I can still lead you through other roads. A closed door does not mean that all hope has disappeared from your life. Perhaps what is being tested is not only another person's loyalty, but also the way you respond when trust is shaken. You may choose to investigate secretly, control, monitor, and allow suspicion to lead you. Or you may choose to speak honestly, ask clear questions, and protect yourself through upright means. You do not need to violate another person's privacy in order to recover a sense of safety. If the matter concerns shared finances, ownership, documents, or family safety, you have the right to request transparency. Preserve important records, review agreements, and seek professional assistance if necessary. Faith does not tell you to close your eyes to evidence. Faith helps you remain calm while facing difficult things. If someone you trusted truly acted wrongly, you have the right to feel heartbroken. The pain does not arise only from what they did, but also from the feeling that years of trust must now be viewed in a different light. You may wonder what was real, what was merely an appearance, and why you did not recognize it sooner. Give yourself time to grieve. Do not force yourself to forgive instantly merely to prove that you are a good person. Yet do not allow pain to become a desire for retaliation. You do not need to humiliate them before a crowd, spread their secrets, or attempt to make them suffer in the same way. Truth must be spoken and consequences faced, but your heart does not need to become a dwelling place for bitterness. Forgiveness does not mean restoring trust exactly as it was. Trust is not rebuilt through one hurried apology, but through consistent change over time. If the person genuinely wishes to repair what was broken, they will not blame you for remaining cautious. Demand that you forget immediately, or use tears to avoid responsibility. They will be willing to answer questions, offer transparency where transparency is needed, and accept new boundaries. You may forgive while maintaining distance. You may wish them well without continuing to allow them deep access to your life. Kindness does not eliminate boundaries. Mature kindness knows when a door must be closed, so that old harm is not repeated. But if conversation reveals that you misunderstood, be humble enough to admit it. Old fear may make the present appear more suspicious than reality warrants. Perhaps the other person was not concealing betrayal, but struggling with something they had not yet found the courage to share. Perhaps the distance arose from exhaustion, pressure, or poor communication rather than harmful intent. If they continue to respect you, remain open to conversation, and act consistently, allow the relationship an opportunity to heal. You do not need to hold on to an accusation merely to preserve the belief that your intuition is always correct. Loving truth means being willing to adjust when new information becomes available. I want you to recognize that the greatest struggle is not a battle to capture your attention, but the struggle to keep your heart from two extremes: naivete and suspicion. If you are too trusting, you may continue overlooking what causes harm. If you are excessively suspicious, you may destroy sincere relationships and live in a state of constant vigilance. Discernment lies between these extremes, listening to feelings while testing them against reality, trusting while allowing time to reveal character, forgiving without erasing responsibility, and remaining open without granting complete access at the beginning. I want you to become someone who loves with open eyes. Perhaps what needs to change in your home is not the removal of one person, but the way everyone speaks with one another. Prolonged silence, sarcasm, unbalanced responsibilities, and avoided financial issues can gradually cause a household to lose its peace. Begin with the part you can influence. Apologize where you have done wrong. Stop using the past as a weapon. Do not discuss important matters when both people are overwhelmed by anger. Agree upon ways to manage money, time, and responsibilities. Seek help from a counselor if your conversations continually fall into the same cycle. A home is not usually healed through one sudden miracle, but through many humble choices repeated over time. If the relationship involves control, threats, violence, or causes you to feel unsafe, do not attempt to handle it alone. Reach out to trustworthy people, professionals, or appropriate support services. Prepare what is necessary to protect yourself and anyone dependent upon you. Courage does not mean remaining in danger to prove your love. Forgiveness does not require you to return to a place where further harm may occur. I love peace, but true peace is not built by forcing one person to suffer silently in order to preserve an outward appearance of calm. Michael is mentioned as a protector, but understand that my protection often comes through very ordinary things. A timely conversation, a friend who recognizes what you have grown accustomed to enduring, a document carefully reviewed, a professional offering sound advice, or a boundary you finally become courageous enough to establish. Do not wait for such a dramatic sign that you overlook the small means already helping you see clearly. A true protector does not make you dependent upon their messages. They help you mature so that you can discern, act, and stand firmly through wisdom. I am not telling you that a miracle is knocking at the door and will disappear if you fail to open it immediately. What I invite you to receive is the ability to live differently, and that invitation is renewed every day. Today you can begin speaking honestly. Tomorrow you can establish a boundary. You can change a habit, seek help, or rebuild trust through small steps. You do not have to accomplish everything at once. Lasting transformation does not always arrive through a dramatic moment. It may begin when you stop reacting from fear and choose the next right action. Forgive yourself for the times you failed to notice sooner. Perhaps you sensed that something was wrong but remained silent because you feared losing someone, disrupting their family, or being considered difficult. Perhaps you gave too many opportunities because you hoped the other person would change. Do not use present understanding to attack your former self. At that time, you chose according to what you knew and the strength you possessed. Now you can learn, adjust, and continue forward. Forgiving yourself is not avoiding responsibility, it is releasing self-condemnation, so that you still have the strength to build a different future. Release the belief that another person can take away every good thing merely because you moved too slowly. No one can live your portion of life for you. Someone else may receive an opportunity you also desired, But that does not make you abandoned. Life is not a table with only one serving, where the fastest person takes it all. Your path is shaped through your abilities, choices, circumstances, and individual lessons. Stop comparing, because comparison may cause you to grasp hastily at something that is not truly right for you. What you need is not everything others possess, but enough discernment to recognize what is genuinely good for you. Now, I want you to rise with calm courage. Face what must be faced, but do not create enemies before you know the truth. Ask what must be asked, but do not begin with accusations. Establish boundaries, but do not turn them into punishment. If you need to leave, leave with safety and dignity. If rebuilding is possible, rebuild through truth, responsibility, and visible change. Do not continue living in uncertainty merely because you fear the answer. Sometimes one painful truth is better than something that drains you every day. Forgive the person who disappointed you, not to erase consequences, but so that your heart is no longer controlled by them. Forgive yourself for trusting, hoping, and once being afraid to change. Then release attachments sustained only through guilt, threats, or dependency. You are allowed to choose relationships marked by respect, safety, and freedom. You are allowed to build a home in which truth is not punished. Every person is heard, and love is not used as an instrument of control. Finally, allow your breathing to slow. There is no spiritual clock counting down above your head. You are not facing one final opportunity. You are standing before a new day, and that day is spacious enough for discernment, prayer, learning, and responsible action. Be grateful that you are seeing more clearly, that you have the right to choose, and that sincere people still remain willing to walk beside you. Cherish them, thank them, and become as trustworthy toward others as you hope others will be toward you. I am with you when the curtain of truth is drawn back, whether what is revealed brings joy or causes pain. I will not force you to choose in panic. Keep your heart tender but not weak, your eyes open but not suspicious, and your hope steady but not blind. Each day, live with greater kindness, speak more truthfully, establish clearer boundaries, and love with deeper maturity. When you choose truth instead of fear, forgiveness instead of retaliation, and peace instead of pressure, you have crossed an important threshold. No one can take that from you, because the deepest transformation is being formed in the way you live, love, and stand firm from this day forward.